Well, I don't know that I would call what I just watched necessarily fun in terms of going through the process, but in the words of Michigan football, it's process over prize. Yet Michigan walks away with a prize, the basketball team does, as they won the Big Ten tournament championship in Dusty May's first year. They are champions. They get to have a trophy, hang a banner, and go to the NCAA tournament. We will talk about the game, Michigan seeding, all of that here on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Selection Sunday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire, through USA Today Sports Media Group, not on the ground in Indianapolis. I always skip the Big Ten tournament. I've only gone to one NCAA tournament thus far, 2017, because there's always football things, and I just have to pick and choose which one I do. So we're sticking with football. But granted, could have gone to the tournament and done football things. Didn't do that. Doesn't matter. Michigan wins 59-53. This was not a game where it felt at any point like Michigan. I mean, it felt like Michigan could win it, but this wasn't like the Maryland game that we talked about yesterday, right? Because that one felt like Michigan should win this even when they kind of gave things up, right? It felt like Michigan could win it at any time. But once Wisconsin went up by 11, it felt pretty dire because it just felt like Michigan could not score at all. Both teams, bizarre. It's bizarre because it was not like you'd think that the coaches on either side would be like, hey, stop hoisting up so many threes and try to get the ball inside. There was one point where Maryland, I'm going to keep on saying Maryland, it's a mental block. Wisconsin had made 28 shot attempts, and 21 of those came from beyond the arc. Michigan wasn't that bad at the time, like I tweeted about it, and they weren't that bad at the time, and then they became that bad as Will Shetter and Reuben Jones were just back there going, Kobe, right? That was bad as far as me trying to do a shot. You can tell I haven't shot a basketball in a very long time. Anyway, still, Michigan defensively held on really strong. They were 9 of 33 from behind the arc. 33 of the 59 shots came from three. Whereas you look at Wisconsin, who went 7 of 39. That 39 of their 68 shots were from 3-point land. Just absolutely wild because it just seemed like both teams were just hoisting them up as much as they possibly could. And Michigan had slightly better success, 27.3% conversion compared to 17.9%. And this was a game that, like we talked yesterday, I thought that John Tonje was going to be a big part of stopping John Tonje was going to be a big part of what they had to do. I didn't know that was necessarily going to be possible. He had 9 points, of which he got 7 from the stripe. Only hit 1 2-point shot from the floor all game long. The one that really killed them was John Blackwell, who had 18 points. I mean, still, that's not that great, but this wasn't really a very good offensive performance for Michigan. Obviously, 59 points, 21 points at half, not really that great. Vlad and Trey are the only two who got into double digits at all. 11 and 11 as far as that's concerned. They both had 11. But just some timely makes kind of down the stretch. And Michigan held Wisconsin to no field goals in the last 3 minutes and 55 seconds. So that was huge. Now, they still did score, but just by virtue of the defense stepping up, it allowed the offense to find its moments. And yet again, Trey with a late three that was absolutely crucial. Absolutely crucial for them to get that. Vlad came up big late, and even the ones that just kind of like I wasn't that enthused by, right? Like Will Shetter was just hoisting threes like it was nobody's business for a lot of the game. He still hit 2 really key shots. Like when he was 0-4, he hit 2 threes, and it was like, oh, thank the heavens that finally worked. Now, he was very productive defensively, had 6 rebounds. Michigan didn't have the same performance that it had. And this is the funny thing is Michigan had three very distinctively different performances over the course of the weekend, right? Because you saw, hey, they took care of the basketball and were offensively good against Purdue. Then yesterday against Maryland, it's like they didn't take care of the basketball, still did pretty good offensively, but were just rebounding machines. This game, they barely offensively rebounded. They did get quite a few rebounds still. They lost the battle, 46-40, Wisconsin advantage there. They still were a little bit more unselfish with the basketball, 14 assists, and they ended up coming out on top. And it wasn't very much, it just wasn't a fun game to watch. But you know what? They won a trophy. First time, I'm sure you've never heard this before. It's like Matthew Stafford playing a high school ball with going to the same high school as Clayton Kershaw. But Dusty May is the first time a first-time head coach winning the Big Ten tournament for the first time. That's pretty amazing. And now the battle's going to rage on, the pissing match between Michigan and Michigan State fans, which is more important. And I would say this. What year was it? Was it 2021 when the roles were reversed? It's going to be funny to see. You can probably dig up from, either side of the aisle, people who thought differently back in the last time Michigan won the Big Ten regular season championship. I think that was 2021, wasn't it? It had to have been. Anyway, we're going to talk now about the NCAA tournament, and then we'll probably gripe about it after that. That's kind of the plan. So we're going to do that here in just a moment. But before we do, we're all about the stats because numbers don't lie. And when it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. With the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds and can quite literally carry the whole team plus the gear wherever you need to go. Powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. And with room for up to 8 people, the Armada Pro 4X is built for big cruise, big adventures, and even bigger memories. Whether you're exploring off-road trails or rolling up to the arena, the Armada Pro 4X brings power, versatility, and style wherever you go. Take your adventures to new heights in the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X. Learn more at nissanusa.com. All right, we're going to continue on here in just a moment, but March Madness is here. And FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. I've got my eye on a few underdogs this year, and FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. I mean, heck, it's going to be exciting. The whole bracket hasn't even been revealed as I say this. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Let's stay on the Big Ten tournament game for just another second. Let's not just gloss over. We did a whole show yesterday on the last one. You still have to, as much as this game was painful, I mean, it was so painful. I mean, the fact that you're looking at, not just, Michigan's numbers aren't that impressive, but it's the same thing on the other end, right? Because like I said, 2 Michigan players in double digits, only 2 Wisconsin players in double digits, right? I think it was yesterday I saw an interview, I had to have been, where Tom Izzo was saying that Wisconsin's the hottest team in the Big Ten. It was the team that he absolutely didn't want to have to play. Yada, 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 and yet Michigan took them down. That tells you a little something in terms of Michigan did not look competitive against MSU really in either of the 2 games. Like it did for a half and at Chrysler, but neither game really went very well for Michigan. And I mean, granted, it was a grinded out type of game for Michigan State against Wisconsin, but Michigan still ends up, they did what they needed to do. And that just kind of shows it's they always say in football, styles make fights. Well, that's true in basketball as well. So, I mean, any opportunity that they have ahead of them, it's styles make fights. Now, that said, and I guess I am going to move on, It is not going to be easy for Michigan. Michigan ends up getting the first 5 seed, which I think is terribly disappointing. That just goes to show, my friend Steve Dace texted me right before I went on, and he mentioned about how the selection committee just doesn't even reward Sundays anymore, which is absurd, right? Because that's like extra data points, you know. Like, I understand you want the regular season to mean something and all of that, but like you gotta let that tournament actually show you something. Because Michigan being a 5 seed is indicative of like, hey, we just didn't pay attention to the last 3 games that they had. The fact that they got a trophy, so that's disappointing, certainly. And the fact that they're a 5 seed along with like Oregon, you know, like they're 2 seeds behind Wisconsin, who they've beaten twice this year. You know, like it kind of baffles you a little bit. I mean, at this stage, just so you know where we're at, like I can't even see the whole field. We've got a whole region that has yet to have been revealed as of right now. I don't even know what the region. I guess it would be the West region hasn't revealed. So I'm looking at the brackets right now. But Michigan is as the first 5 seed. That means they are in the number 1 overall bracket. That means that if they make it to the second weekend, they'll have to potentially face Auburn. You assume that's probably would be who they'd end up seeing in the Sweet 16. And they have a possibility of facing off against Michigan State in the Elite 8. So that's not fun. Not great, Bob. Not great. But they also, to start off on Thursday, will be playing UC San Diego, which currently has the longest winning streak in all of college basketball. Also not great. Texas A&M or Yale would be the opponent in the round of 32. So that's where they are as far as that's concerned. Yeah, don't love it. I would have liked for them to have gotten that last 4 seed, which ended up going to Maryland, who Michigan also just beat. This is why it's so ridiculous. See, this just got revealed. The 4 seeds, Maryland and Purdue. I have to look. This is a miscarriage of justice. I'm gonna go ahead and say it's a miscarriage of justice. Absolutely absurd. Because Michigan was I understand Maryland was the 2 seed in the big, like they were the second team in the Big Ten. But it's like Purdue, like seriously, like, come on. I understand they do things different. They look at the quad wins or whatever, but Michigan's third. Michigan is 2 spots ahead in the Big Ten rankings. I understand this is a little bit different, but Michigan's 25-9. They have 1 more loss than Maryland, but they have a head-to-head win over Maryland. I mean, that's 1-1. They have 2 less losses and 3 more wins than Purdue, who is ahead of the Wolverines in the bracket. They have 1 more win than Oregon, who's also a 5 seed. And also, like, by the way, like Michigan in the Big Ten, 14-6. In the Big Ten in the regular season, ahead of Wisconsin and Purdue. Make it make sense to me. I'm sure they're looking at the quad ones and all of that stuff. I don't really care right now as I look at this bracket and look at like what Maryland in the second weekend would have to play a Florida team no one wants to face whatsoever. But like Maryland's path, like they have to play Grand Canyon and then Memphis or Colorado State. I don't know if you want to play Colorado State this second either. But I mean, still, Purdue has to play High Point, and then probably Clemson, and then either Houston, Gonzaga, or Georgia, unless a school I've never heard of ends up beating Houston. So, like, what are we doing here? It just doesn't. It baffles me that this is what the selection committee came up with. And yet in football, they want to expand. Like, I think that there are some powers that be that would love to have like a 64 team football thing. And then you would just be looking at like some insanity like this. It absolutely is ridiculous. And it's what makes it that much more jarring again is the fact that Michigan just did what looked improbable a month ago. And so I understand like timing wise, like, we don't have a lot of time to really do this, but like, at least look at the fact that like the Big Ten championship game used to mean something. The conference tournaments used to mean something. And clearly it doesn't, because I could understand if, like, at the end of the regular season, you put Michigan where it is, because it's like, okay, they just lost to Maryland. They struggled against Nebraska and Rutgers, and they lost to Michigan State twice, and, all of that. But you saw a team that looked a heck of a lot better. Now, that said, if Michigan plays the way it's capable of playing, it can beat any team in front of it. That's the good news, right? Like, as much as it, you don't really want to see them playing Auburn. I don't really want to see them playing Michigan State again. No, I don't think there is any Michigan fan right now that would feel very confident about that, just given how those last 2 games went. Obviously you'd take it if you could guarantee a win, because a win in the NCAA tournament would be something in the Elite Eight. But man, I just feel like this team got completely jobbed out of, why did they really have to go through what they just went through? And yes, you want the trophy. You want to say you've got the bragging rights of the Big Ten. Now we get to have a whole bunch of bickering between Michigan State fans all off season. Well, maybe not, depending on what happens in the tournament here. But nonetheless, it just kind of shows that the selection committee has just rendered the Big Ten championship meaningless. It's absolutely absurd. It's absolutely ridiculous. Do better. All right, we're going to continue on. We've got a little bit more to talk about, and then we will transition back to football for a few days before we get to the tournament. So we will do that here in just a moment. But before we do, ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you just stop managing your money and start building wealth. They've got so many amazing things. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without any stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off of your first year. This is one of those shows where I've kind of gotten ahead of myself. I get into the, what grinds my gears segment a little early. That's kind of where we went. Like, I wanted to kind of go through and talk about the matchups and everything like that. I mean, we can do a little bit of that here, but, if I'm to look at how do I think this will go, I think it's a tough matchup for Michigan. I think that they'll prevail, and I think Michigan certainly can beat whether it's Texas A&M or Yale. That would be a fun matchup, Danny Wolf against Yale, right? Because that's the school he came from. I know one of the analysts on CBS, as I was finishing up the written story, had Yale beating Texas A&M as one of his upset specials. We'll see, I think that Michigan certainly, it could be ousted. That's the thing. We don't know what you're going to get any given day with Michigan basketball, but at least we just saw, like, who would you rather face? Like, I'd rather face UC San Diego, Texas A&M, or Yale, and then, then Wisconsin, Maryland, or Purdue. So that's the good news, right? And, heck, Wisconsin's a 3 seed. They just beat them. Purdue and Maryland are apparently 4 seeds. They just beat them. So, it wasn't necessarily easy against every team here, but, like, there was Michigan against Purdue and Michigan against Maryland for a large part of it looked dominant. So, yeah, I feel pretty good for Michigan to play anything up to a 3 seed. And then Auburn hasn't been playing that great lately. Now, Auburn is still the number 1 overall seed. And then you look at the East bracket. You'd rather have Duke right now with Cooper Flagg likely being hurt, I think. Is that the case? I mean, again, we're a little tangential when it comes to the whole of college basketball up until this point. Like, Oregon gets the draw, man. You look at Oregon right now. Oregon has Liberty, and then either Arizona, which is just also kind of not been that great. Probably, assuming Arizona takes care of Akron, and then either a currently injured Duke team, Mississippi State or Baylor. Like, Dana Altman, welcome to the Elite Eight. That's kind of where that is. So I feel like there needs to be, like, to kind of fix this, like some reverse threading here. Instead of just like everyone goes, it needs to be a little bit of a snake, I think, to some degree. Because to be like, yeah, you're the first 5 seed, but you go into the hardest bracket does not exactly feel like a reward. Now, I would say also Maryland is probably in a not great spot because they'd have to play Florida, but that would probably be in the Elite Eight. UConn and Oklahoma, and Michigan beat Oklahoma earlier this year. UConn's not what it has been, but certainly it's still UConn. It can kind of turn it on in any moment. Kansas is in that bracket. Kansas hasn't been that great. Arkansas has had some moments, obviously. Michigan saw them at one point. So, and Colorado State, as a 12 seed is kind of a scary team in that bracket. But still, Florida kind of looms large. Michigan's just easily in the hardest bracket. It's just like, congratulations. You really, like Maryland and Purdue, by virtue of what, like, ends up getting in higher. That, like, it's absolutely insane. I'm looking at the other regions. Michigan would be better off being a 5 seed in any other region. Heck, Michigan would be better off being a 4 seed in any other region than where it is in the South. It is unbelievable. Now, cool that they get to go to Denver, Colorado. Like that's a cool place to play. Rather go there than, but that'll make things interesting, by the way, because Michigan likes to run. Being a mile high, that might affect Michigan a little bit. Now, all 4 teams are teams that aren't accustomed to being a mile high. So there's that for you. But nonetheless, it's just crazy. I think that might be all I have. I just cannot believe that this is where they ended up. This is like, it just feels like such a screw job. It just feels like such an absolute screw job that this is where Michigan lands. And all the reports were like, Michigan's, I think going into the day, was it Joe Lunardi was like, Michigan's probably a 4 seed, but hey, they might even be a 3 if they can win on Sunday. Only to be a 5 seed, the first 5 seed. Cancel everything. It's just absolute joke. All right, that's all we got for this. We'll return to football. We'll get to your mailbag tomorrow. And then we're probably going to double up tomorrow. Get to the mailbag as well as talk about Wink Martindale and Chip Lindsey. I would think that's how that's going to go. Maybe we'll just push Chip Lindsey and Wink Martindale to Tuesday because we're just going to have a kind of jam-packed week now that spring ball is starting for football. And we got the NCAA tournament starting on Thursday. Just lots to get into. Anyway, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you again soon. Peace.